Much more efficient.
To cure what?
Cure epoxies like JB Weld.
My own personal ambition is to do what I can to get the world off carbon, because the carbon scientists are saying we've absolutely got to do it. This is a desperate situation. Within about 30 years, we have to cut about all of the carbon use in the world, otherwise we're cooked. And we think of future generations living in a hell if we don't do something really serious real quick. Now, personally, the only thing I can do is give an example. So that's what I've been doing. I've been trying to develop an example of total off-carbon living, and I'm also just playing around with my lifelong hobby as well as my profession, which is solar energy and heat engines. That's what I do. So a lot of this I just chalk up recreation. You say it costs too much, I say it's cheaper than golf. PV panels, there are lots of them over here, and they are connected to the grid, and they provide most of the power. One array is connected only to the battery, and it's an emergency power out in the case of a battery, and we have run the entire house on it successfully. It'll run the whole house for 2 days if you minimize the use. The car is a wonderful appliance. Carol uses it for everything, and I think it's the most fantastic car I ever had, and the only problem I have is it's way too fancy. It's got too much stuff in it. I would like to have one that's got practically nothing like a Model T. We get hot water from a heat pump run by PV, or a solar collector, which is right in front of the house, or the wood stove, which is inside, or all of them together. And the valve system is too complex for a normal human being to understand. So in case of need, it's hopeless. So I just put it to the default position of the electric heat pump, no problem.
Gives more light than the two fluorescents. And you know, you have to rewire it, but it wasn't a big deal. Anyhow, the curing of the sweet potatoes, if they have any little cuts or something, they sort of heal up if you keep them like 80 degrees or something for a couple of weeks. And then we keep them in a cool, dry bedroom, not in a root cellar. They don't like damp. They keep all year. So, especially since William gets very tired of eating sweet potatoes. My life cooked with gas, but we decided we didn't want to give anybody an excuse for fracking. So when we got the solar panels, and this runs totally on our solar electricity, we got an induction heat. They are as good, they're better than gas as far as being fast, and you can set it for any temperature you want. Those of you who cook with gas, it's very hard to keep something really low without the flame going out. This you can set any way you want. The only hitch is you have to have the kind of pans that a magnet will stick to. And so I actually bought new pans because my old ones were not the right kind of steel. But I've been cooking for 55 years, and I thought maybe it's okay to buy new pans. Sears has 3 of them on display on their, I mean, it's the coming thing. Wow. So in addition to this one, which was Consumer Reports' top-rated induction stove, and this is the Kenmore. Actually, we got this one from Sears. The one outside, I have a summer kitchen, is a GE, and that was Consumers Report top rated when I bought that 6 months ago and gave my gas stove away. There's a device that makes an alternating electromagnetic field, zip, 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 and it heats only the pan. This will not heat at all. You saw this was on. I can put my hand on it. Because the pan gets hot, the surface will get a little hot, but it doesn't get hot like an electric ceramic stove gets. And that means that your kitchen is not so hot in the summertime, because the only thing that gets hot is the actual pan that you have on it.
Didn't you say that it boils water really quickly?
Well, like a gas stove. I mean, it's not instant. It contrasts well with a microwave. This you would call a hot plate, except like the other one, it doesn't get hot. It's an induction heater. It costs $72. It's made by Max Burton, and you can get it online. In addition to that, it's a timer. So we have slow-cooked oatmeal for breakfast every morning. I put it on, I set the timer, and then I go and read my newspaper on the web or something. I don't have to pay any attention to it because the timer turns it off. This is one half of the heat pump, and the other one is out there. It can either heat, or it can cool in the summer, or it can simply be dehumidifier. Of course, it uses some electricity, but it doesn't use as much as you might think. Then last week, we had the roof, on the top of the roof, 2 inches of isocyanate foam put. And it has really made a difference just in this 1 week. Of course, it hasn't been very cold either. We had that foam sprayed underneath the floor. So now we have a really well-insulated room, except for the windows. And we expect that because of that, we probably could keep the house heated even in the winter with just the heat pump, but normally we use the
Yeah, I had one of those where this before, and we had a salt box, so it was upstairs was open, and it heated everything fine, cooled everything fine.
He's in the process, that's what that missionary pot is behind the stove. He formerly had a coil in it that went right into our hot water system, and now he thinks he's going to do it a different way, and it isn't quite done, but he'll talk about that later. Electric hot water heater. And it's another heat pump. And it doesn't use very much electricity, and it keeps the water hot. This root cellar, incidentally, was dug in an Indian mound, and when they dug it, they dug out 13 skeletons. I mean, they should never have done it, but this was 100 years ago, and people weren't paying any attention to things like that. What I do with my garden, it's full of food and jam and a little bit of venison in the shop, which are kept charged by the solar panels. And if the grid goes down, we can just run the house vital parts on the batteries, the freezer, because I got a lot of my work in this, and the computers, of course, how could you run without computers, and the refrigerator and a few lights. And when the derecho came, and we only had about a quarter of panels we have right now, we managed to keep everything going for the 11 days we were off the grid. Our bill right now is minus $280. Whether we'll see anything of that, and we'll wait and see. We've only been connected since January.
Earth?
Well, it's cement. That's what you're looking at. It was earth on the top. It was a root cellar that was covered with dirt from an Indian mound. Yeah, canal insulation and roofing.
And this is the same stuff as on the roof?
Yeah.
Hey, Kara, quick announcement for people down there. We're fixing to do the biodiesel.
We're having a biodiesel demonstration here. That's not coffee. Sorry. Oh. No refreshments.
My name's Ken Riggs, a member of Alternative Fuels Research Group out of Long Bottom, Ohio. We're a small-scale biodiesel production. Been doing it about 8 years. And today I want to talk to you, just give you a simple demonstration about how to produce biodiesel on the stovetop or a 1 liter batch. The nice thing about doing it this way is it's scalable. So if you can learn to make 1 liter, you can make 1,000 liters like we do in our shop. Everything just scales right up, and hopefully you end up with the same result. We make all of our fuel from used cooking oil, which is a secondary feedstock, secondary use feedstock. So it's already been used for cooking French fries or whatever. We then recycle it into fuel, which is a pretty good use for it, instead of it ending up in a landfill or typically it goes to dog food. To create biodiesel, we need to start out with very dry cooking oil, and this is where, like a lot of people, you'll see demonstrations, they'll do it with virgin oil. That's fine, it's real easy, but when you make it from used cooking oil, you have to make sure the oil is dry to under 1% moisture, and impurities. So you can't have French fries and stuff floating around under a bunch of water because it kills the reaction and it doesn't work. There's several ways we can test it. I use a chemical test in our shop that checks for the percentage of moisture. You can do a crackle test, they call it, where you put some in a pan, heat it up. If it starts bubbling up and crackling, then it's usually got moisture in it, pretty good amount. Or visually, just compare it. If it's wet, it's going to be really creamy looking. If it's dry, it's going to be pretty dark and translucent, about like that. That's our feedstock oil. Next thing we need is methanol. Biodiesel is created through a process called transesterification. We start with vegetable or animal fats called triglycerides. We split those. They consist of 3 long fatty acid chains. So we want to break those chains and remove the glycerin molecules from it. When we do that, the hydrogen molecules from the methanol takes the place of the glycerin molecules back into the oil. To do that, we use a catalyst. Start off with a methanol, and what we end up with is methyl esters, which is the most common way. You can also use ethanol. It's a little bit more complicated, and you end up with ethyl esters. And our methanol, we need to make sure is very pure, just like our chemicals that we use. Our catalysts, we need about 90% or better. Our methanol needs to be 99% pure because water will stop the reaction. A couple things to note: methanol is poisonous to humans and primates, so you need to keep that in mind. It doesn't take much methanol to kill a human. Your dog can drink it, it won't hurt them. Same thing with lye. It's also very caustic. It's called caustic soda, and it will burn you. Today what we're going to use is NaOH, or sodium hydroxide. We use a base. So if we have virgin oil, our base to convert it is always going to be about 5 grams of NaOH or 7 grams of KOH, which is potassium hydroxide. That's your base if you have virgin oil. If you don't have virgin oil and you have used oil, you have to figure out your FFA value and how burned up your oil is. And to do that, we use a process called titration. It's very simple. I actually brought the stuff to do it, or I forgot the stuff to do it. So you just have to take my word on it that what you do with the titration is you test the oil by adding a little bit of your catalyst into your virgin oil with a pH solution, which can be as simple as turmeric, or you can use a pH solution like pentanol red, and you're looking for a pH level change. That tells you how much catalyst that you need to add on top of your base. So we know we're going to start with 5, we'll say, and in this batch here that I'm making, we're going to move that up to 7 because it took 2 grams to produce this. First things, safety, no open flames. You don't want to open flames and stuff around because you're dealing with methanol and hot oil, and it can start a fire. So you want to put on gloves. Mixing, I learned to do it in a blender. I learned to do it off of a site called Journey to Forever. I don't know if any of you guys ever seen that site. That's how I learned to do it a long time ago. Their information is a little bit incorrect on the amount of lye for your base to get a complete reaction. There's another site called make-biodiesel.org, which has excellent demonstrations and instructions on how to make ASTM quality fuel. We've got our oil heated up. Our oil needs to be dry, and we need to be around 130 to 140 degrees. We don't want to go over 150 degrees because if we do, we stand a chance of boiling off our methanol that we're going to add to it. Once you get your oil up, you can mix it any way, shake it by hand if you want. Once you get your oil up and you get it mixing, you're going to add your lye to your methanol. You can need some scales to be able to measure out the lye, but we know we're going to take about 7 grams to 20% methanol. And your methanol is always constant. It's either 20 to 22% is pretty much what you use every time. So that's easy to deal with. It's very constant. You mix your methanol and your lye, and you end up with what's called sodium methyl oxide, which is your catalyst mixed in with your methanol. You want to do this in HDPE bottles or glass. You don't want to try to do it in styrofoam or a red Solo cup because it'll go right through it. You check our oil temperature. We've got our catalyst. Like I said, I already mixed this up, so I don't have to measure this out. I know I mixed 7 grams of lye into 200 milliliters of methanol. We start off with 1 liter, 20%, 200. So this is already mixed up. When you mix it up, you got to shake it for a few minutes. It's going to build some heat. You want to make sure you let the pressure off every so often. A pretty nasty chemical. It's the only part of the whole thing you really got to watch yourself about is the gas off of this is not friendly. It'll make you sick. So once you get your catalyst mixed up with your methanol, you basically have your hot oil and you just slowly add your catalyst into your oil. It's already starting to change. Let it mix for about 20 to 30 minutes is typically how long it takes to get a good reaction on a small batch. If you're doing it on a large scale, sometimes you may mix it an hour, 2 hours, it doesn't matter. You mix it as long as you want, as long as you keep it steady temperature and you let it mix. Once it's done mixed, you're going to let it settle for about 30 minutes, cool off, and when you're done, you end up with that, which is your glycerin is on the bottom. Your glycerin will fall out, and what you have left up here on the top is raw biodiesel. At this point, it's fuel. But we don't know how good a fuel it is, because what we're looking to do is get a complete reaction. We're trying to convert all those triglycerides into fuel. If you don't get a complete reaction, you're just kind of a mix of equal to pouring some cooking oil in with your diesel. Once it's cooled, we'll take a sample off of here, and we're going to do a very simple test that was developed by some guys I work with online called the 27 and 3 test. Methanol is what we use to begin with. Methanol is what we use to test with. You take 27 milliliters of methanol and put it in a small jar like that. We're going to take 3 milliliters of our finished fuel and we're going to mix it in with that. And if our fuel is complete, when we're done, it'll look very similar to that. Maybe a little cloudy, it'll be suspended. That is the best homebrew test there is right now to tell if you have complete conversion. And you, like I said, you want complete conversion because it's questionable. Maybe in an old diesel it won't matter, but in a new diesel vehicle you could always have a little problem with fallout. I've already got some finished fuel here that was just made the same way as this, made on a stovetop batch. We're going to take a small pipette. You can use a syringe. We need to measure out 27 milliliters of methanol, and we need to take 3 milliliters of cooking oil, and we're just going to add that to it. And I'm sorry I said cooking oil, but I meant finished fuel. 2 and 3. Put our top on there. As you can see right off, it's already gone, it's clear. This test is typically done at about 68 degrees. There's some variants of this test. Once you get good, you can start putting it in the refrigerator. You want a nice clear translucent with no fallout. If you did it right, you should be able to set that around for about 15 minutes. Should see nothing fall out. I have it set around for weeks and nothing falls out. If you didn't get a complete reaction, you'll end up with that. I don't know if you guys can see that, but you end up with falling out in the bottom because it will not stay suspended. That is actually just a little bit of that oil I took and put in there before I started mixing it. So there's your difference. Incomplete reaction, you'll have a fallout in the bottom, which is very noticeable. Complete reaction, your fuel is good to go. That is ASTM. If you send that to a lab right there, that will pass for a complete reaction. Remove all the soaps. There's several ways online that you can look at washing the fuel. We use water washing, which is the oldest technique there is. But once you learn to do it this way, there's no problem scaling up. Like I said, if you can make 1 liter batch, you can make 1,000. Quick review, start off with good dry oil, heat it to 135 degrees, 20% methanol, 20 to 22 by volume. We're going to do a titration to figure out how much lye we need to add to our base, which is either going to be 5 or 7 as our base, whether we use NaOH or potassium hydroxide, either one. At the end, we're going to let it settle. Once it settles, we're going to do our 327 test to see if our fuel's finished. Once that's done, if you fail, you can reprocess it. If you're lucky and you get it done right and it looks like that, then you just move on to washing it. Even after 9 years, I still screw up batches, but I screw up 200-300 gallons at a time. So it's like making wine or making beer. It's an art that once you learn, you probably never forget it, and you can do it for the rest of your life. The nice thing about it is you always know that you can produce a clean, reliable, renewable fuel from a secondary feedstock fairly cheaply for your own personal use. That's it.
The way this works is that it's not quite the same cycle as a Stirling engine, if you're familiar with those. There's only a displacer in here. So a section of this will be heated and a section will be cooled. There's a displacer inside here that'll shuttle the gas between the hot section and the cold section. So you can imagine, you heat a gas, it expands. You cool it and it contracts. You can see there's check valves on either end. So as that gas expands, your output is pressurized air, and then as it cools, you get air taken back in, repeat, add forever. With that output of compressed air, well, you can then do whatever you want. You could run your shop air tools, or in this case, we're going to run it through a turbocharger and actually generate electricity. Predicted to generate about 1 kilowatt, which is a little less than 4 of those solar panels. It'll fit perfectly into a combined heating and power system. So again, at night or in the winter when you're going to need a little more juice for your batteries, you might also want a little heat through your water, your floor. So again, the output of this, besides electrical power, is going to be heat. So either the heat, you can either take the waste heat from the engine or the heat from the exhaust and use it to heat water, heat your house. The final product here, which since we're talking about carving today, after you've gotten all of the gas out of the wood pellets, you have what's actually really useful char. So you're not releasing this back up into the air. I don't know if you guys are familiar with biochar. You have something you can charge with nutrients or bury if you're a gardener. If you're a blacksmith, this is what you throw into your forge and burns really well and hot. This is your other output here. You can step on it really hard and have your little diamond. Maybe use your compressed air out to crunch your char pellets.
10,000 years, you're good to go.
Life cycle. It's all over the life side. Purpose here, at least what part it's going to play in this whole system is battery charging system, backup power. But again, sky's the limit.
Carbon in the air, you're taking it out.
And what's this called?
The heat source, this is called the gasifier. But then the actual engine is a thermocompressor. There are systems you can use the wood stove as a heat source. You'd open up, you'd put your pellets into this top chamber, and it's just gravity fed down. This is where you'd actually just set a small fire, then close it, and introduce a really restricted airstream. So in here is where you'll get it smoldering. Like this will be your heat source right here. And then the uncombusted fuel, smoke and dense gas coming off of it, that will then travel where you really want your heat, and it'll combust around the engine head right here. So yeah, it is its own wood stove, but unlike a wood stove, it's not direct combustion, where there's plenty of oxygen and you just burn up the whole carbon structure as well. There are stovetop models. We're actually trying to get a pyrolyzer ready to sit on top of a wood stove. Same idea. It's a heat source. You're feeding it already to keep warm. Yeah. And then you can set your batch on top, and then get your gas off and burn it wherever you see fit.
You could have micro hydro or wind, but this is kind of handy. It's an alternative to solar. But now solar does take care of most of my needs, and you have all the power you need during the day. But at the night, your night time is where this would come in handy, and maybe if you ran into a long term of cloudy weather. The solar panels on the side here, the first row is hooked up just to his battery bank for a backup power source in case of power outages, and all the remainder of his solar panels have micro inverters on them that just go right to the grid. This first row here is what he uses to charge his backup battery system. Some of the components and batteries are inside here. Pretty simple system here. This isn't a really large system because most his panels are hooked to the grid, so he just eliminates his bill with. He still wants to have a backup system in case you have a power outage, because now all those ones that are grid tied really won't provide that for you. This is his backup system for in case there is bad solar, a bad week. You've got your batteries, a charge controller, and this is the inverter that produces the AC from DC. Not a really complicated system. This part, the charge controller, it's just like a voltage regulator. It's going to control the voltage that goes to the batteries. Whatever your battery bank needs, you can pretty much preset it hour-wise or voltage-wise. Keeps them from being overcharged and maintains them, really. It pretty much does it all automatically, but once you preset it. There's not a whole lot of maintenance. Most of your maintenance is just maintaining the batteries, fluid level, that's something you want to constantly watch. You know, maybe once every 2 weeks isn't a bad idea. This is a 3,500 watt inverter and converts it from DC to AC, usable household electricity.
What's the watt meter say?
646.
Where's it going?
I'm not sure where we're all switched on. At his box that feeds his house, almost all the individual circuits. That's why I wasn't sure what he could possibly be running with it, because he could pretty much switch any circuit in the house he wants to this system. You wouldn't overload it. You're mainly worried about your refrigerators and freezers and power outages. These are golf cart batteries.
Golf cart?
They're one of the smallest deep cycle batteries you can get. Got them banked to produce 48 volts.
48.
Yeah, there's 8 of them, and that's a pretty common voltage. That's one of the higher voltages you run. 48 volts is a good voltage to run for an application like this. Once you start needing very many batteries, there's only so many combinations. You don't want to string them too deep if you can help it.
Electric car serves almost everything. We took one trip to Columbus, and we just got our old Honda Fit back from my granddaughter. The rule was, gave the granddaughter the Honda, but I could get it back in 20 seconds. I've only gotten it back once in all that time. It says it's about 90 miles.
How far have you pushed it?
77. Carol was afraid, but I wouldn't. I used to run on the fumes of the gas tank.
Battery fuel.
There are guys all over the world frantically working on these things, and they're doing a good job.
What's the new panels that Ohio State's working on? They're like battery and then a photovoltaic in the same
You go to the
thing.
web and you'll find 100 different outfits all over the world working madly on all kinds of stuff. It's really, really moving. I would almost guarantee you that the next issue of the Leaf will go 200 miles.
What your levels are.
My little daydream is to set up a company in Athens called Athens Innovation, built on the model free-form R&D group, where individuals come in there in an open space and just do their thing, no matter how crazy, and people come around and give them a little bit of money if they look promising. There are models of this sort of thing. It's really a wild kind of a development process, but it really works. Everybody who's got a crazy idea can go try it. And nobody's criticizing. And one of them is the biogas generator, and you put all the university food waste, etc., in that thing, and you run the entire fleet of cars for the city. When I was a kid, I was addicted to big kites. The other kids were flying kites like this. I was flying a kite that was 10 feet high. My problem was I couldn't hold them. The kite goes up in the air, it starts burning my hand, I gotta let go of the kite. Now you'd think a little kid would learn something from that. Like, you can't ever get the kite back once you got it in the air. What I learned is there's an awful lot of power in a kite. So just imagine two kites. The string on the kites are wrapped around the windlass, which is attached to a generator. This kite goes back and pulls the generator. This kite goes forward at a low angle, and then they reverse. They go like this. And they put out 10 times the power of an ordinary windmill. And they're dirt cheap. And Carol said, oh my God, they might fall on somebody. And I said, well, have you ever been hit by a thrown sheet? That's what it is. There's nothing up there, it's just a piece of cloth. I used to fly an airplane when I was foolish and young. And my map always showed areas to avoid. It was a standard procedure. Don't fly over Fort Knox. No. Don't fly over the NASA Air Base. Don't fly over the refinery in Cleveland. They might think you're a bad guy. This one says, don't fly over the kites.
Has this been done anywhere?
Yes, I'm glad you asked that question. All of this stuff has been done. All of it. There's nothing new here. There are no inventions. It's just a matter of getting your head on the job. They're doing it. You know, the pickup truck you're sitting in costs more than all of the stuff that you've seen. I look in the Athens Metro, in the back page they had 4 pickup trucks, $50K a piece. $50K a piece for a pickup truck. This entire system cost half that. It's utterly amazing, the skewed priorities. And anytime you hear anybody say, this costs too much, You say, well, how come we are doing that, which costs more? And they say, oh, well, windmills take carbon to make, so does your Corolla. So does your heat pump. So does your furniture, everything. So what's new? You can take that budget of carbon and you can buy a great big fat pickup truck, or you can take way less than that budget and buy a Leaf. Take your pick. We live in an insane world, folks. It's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
We're also going to be doing some research on is just trash, plastic trash, you name it. When I first heard it, I was like, no, you can't burn plastic, that's bad for everything. But if you break down the complex chains far enough, it's not polluted. It breaks down the chemical chains that are pollutant. There's very few, if at any, molecules that aren't able to be broken down by high heat.
There are none.
None.
That's called an ionized gas.
A lot of your plastics today, especially in cars, are made from oil, soybean oils. They're vegetable oil to begin with. You can actually take a plastic from a car and break it back down into an oil and turn it into a fuel.
Kind of like a distillery.
Yeah.
So you take the gas that's coming off of the plastic, cool it down into a liquid form, and it comes out, dripping out like oil.
Yeah.
And this is nothing new.
Oh, no.
You can go to the web and you can find it. It's all there. All been done. In Sweden, they look all over the world for trash. They go to New York City and they import the New York City trash to Stockholm to burn it in their power plant right in the city.
Middle of the city.
Right in the middle of the city.
Non-pollutant.
Do we pay them to take our trash? Of course. Or do they pay us? Or do they pay us? Or?
We probably pay them.
Well, I can tell
It's
you
a
there's
big problem in New York City especially.
my feeling about that great gyre of plastic crap in the North Pacific. Get a great big power boat with a seine on it, scoop it all up, stick it in the power boat, and generate electricity for all of Alaska.
There you go.
There you go. Cheap.
Free.
Being a lot of it's from Japan, you might be able to get a little nuclear power off of it too while you're at it.
Well, the real message is we have a golden opportunity to simply, totally solve the energy problem in the United States. Now, I realize that does not solve the population problem. It does not solve the agriculture problem. It does not solve the phosphate runoff into the Great Lakes, but it solves the energy problem.
It can solve all those other problems. If we get off fossil fuels are the root of most of them.
I don't know about population.
Yeah, the reason we populate it is because of easy.
Okay, now you got all the people, what do you do with them? Stuff them in a power plant. I make a joke in a lot of my forums I go to. The R&D engineer always assumes there's always a perfectly obvious solution. Because usually there is. I mean, you want to go to the moon? Oh, we know how to do that. It just takes a billion dollars and gobs of engineers, but we know how to do it. Now, here's my solution. Don't tell anybody to the population. Make a whole bunch of sex robots. These sex robots are so attractive that you're not interested in any DNA sex partner. You got this sex robot, it takes all of your energy, and that's the end of the population.
You produce power with it, right?
It takes a little imagination.
I love your vest.
And if you are vegan or plant-based or have a dairy allergy, again, everything on that plate is safe and good to go. There's a cucumber rallata on the table. That's the only thing that has dairy in it. in the meal this evening. Along with aloo methi, potatoes stewed with fenugreek herbs and mixed greens, chana masala, chickpeas simmered with tomatoes, ginger, garlic, chilies, and spices, kali dal tarta, which are split lentils cooked with shagbark black beans, chilies, garlic, tomatoes, and spices, and then enriched with caramelized onions, roasted sweet potatoes that are mashed and mixed with caramelized onions, garlic, ginger, and 5 Bengali spices. South Indian cabbage, fresh local cabbage, actually all the produce that we could get our hands on locally. This is a very local for gourmet meal like you're about to enjoy, including the South Indian cabbage, shredded and sauteed with South Indian spices, seasoned with onions, garlics, split lentils, whole mustard and cumin seeds, and curry leaves and turmeric. So much turmeric, in fact, that if you remember Mike McTurnan, last year's school garden coordinator, he left the kitchen with bright orange hands. It was lovely. Turmeric rice pilau with dried fruit and nuts. This is the basmati rice, colored yellow with turmeric and seasoned with fresh cilantro, golden raisins, dried cranberries, and local black walnuts. Chili fried apples, which are on your table there. These are fresh local apples, sliced and sauteed with ginger, cardamom, cinnamon, and fresh local chilies, and then just a squeeze of lemon juice. This is an Indian twist on an old Appalachian favorite. And again, the carrot and cucumber write-up that's on your table. This is a North Indian specialty using Snowville creamery yogurt, blended with shredded carrots, cucumber, and chopped mint, and then seasoned with roasted whole mustard and cumin seeds. We'll have carrot halwa for dessert. This is a traditional vegan Indian sweet made of shredded carrots, simmered in almond milk and sugar, and then thickened with almond paste, studded with pistachios, almonds, and golden raisins. Please also enjoy our beverages. We have water, locally produced. I'm based on it. Herbal sage tea. She has several different varieties of hot tea, as well as Ridge Runner coffee. Was so kind as to donate coffee to us. We enjoy mingle with people that are coming in and sitting at your tables. Check out the silent art auction, and hopefully we'll have a few more songs from Lynn and Glenn. Thank you.
I don't think he's looking for the price of what right away. He didn't sound like he was. Hocking Federal and Athens School District, where we're taking food that is produced locally by the farmers, we're fabricating at the school with our class, and then we are transporting it to the schools for the students here. So it's excellent. Yeah, it's a great program. It's good for everybody. I like it. Keep me in mind for things that are going on with you, if there's anything I can get involved with. Now that I'm retired. Definitely. When my garden's done. We canned a lot. We put up a lot of stuff. Yeah. And we eat out of the garden also.
Okay, I want you to know it's all vegan except for the Rita on the table. It's all gluten-free except for the bread on the table. So anybody tells you that gluten-free and vegan sucks.
Give us some signed copies of them. So this is the first lucky prize. Part of
dessert.
Alfonso Contriciani shares a master chef status with only 67 other people in the United States. He currently is Academic Dean of Hospitality Programs and the Director of Practicum Properties at Hocking College. His prestigious accomplishments include being named the Restaurateur of the Year by the International Food and Beverage Forum in 2004. He has garnered over 75 national and international awards, including 36 gold medals thus far in his career. Alfonso competed as a member of a Team USA in 1992, 1996, and 2000 in the International Culinary Olympics. So even Olympic champion. In 2000, he captained Team USA while winning the World Championship in the cold food category. He's an accomplished educator, restaurateur, executive chef, pastry chef, and has held numerous VP and director positions in some of the country's leading hotels, restaurants, universities, and food service companies. He believes in sustainable foods and green initiatives and has applied them to his daily operations. He oversees the Hocking College Inn and Rhapsody, the college's training restaurant located in downtown Nelsonville. Rhapsody features Appalachian farm-to-table cuisine and supports locally grown natural beef, chicken, pork, and lamb. He also owns Plate, a farm-to-table restaurant located in downtown New Albany. Plate features healthy American comfort food grown and produced in Central Ohio, including some of his own family's recipes, and really reflects his vision and philosophy on using seasonal local produce and products. He currently resides with his wife Jennifer on their 70-acre family farm in Thornville, and he's an active member of the Ohio Community Agriculture System and believes that our future is in sustainable organic farming systems to preserve our ecosystem. He's a member of OFA, the Ohio Ecological Farm and Food Association, American Culinary Federation, World Master Chef Societies, Master Chef Society, and the International Food and Beverage Forum. Chef Alfonso.
The hardest thing to do is actually to sit and listen to your own bio. I am a chef, I do have an ego. It's a great pleasure to be here. When asked by Barbara Fisher and Ruth Dotting and all the other folks, CFI, if I would come down and be a keynote speaker, I was simply thrilled to death. I just spoke last week for MORPSI, the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission. We had a local food summit at the Hilton in downtown Columbus. And I was a speaker with Tony Logan, who's the director of Ohio USDA Rural Action. My good friend Tom Redfern and all the other folks from Rural Action. I'm working very, very closely with them, and I support everything they do for the community. My program last week was on the local food system, directed at the lack of local slaughter initiatives, which we're slowly losing in this country. Unfortunately, the conventional food systems is actually controlled by corporate legislation. Our conventional food system greatly grew post-World War II with the advent of fossil fuels, with the advent of technology, mechanized machinery to feed the growing population of the world. We needed it. I am a member of the Farm Bureau, and I do support conventional agriculture. We do need that. The American farmers taught the world, second and third world countries, how to eat. Fortunately, where is it going to stop? That's the question. With the advent of conventional farming, efficiencies were greatly gained with super fertilizers, all different types of irrigation systems, large machineries which are affecting our ecosystem, our environment. But with those efficiencies, there's a decline in nutrients. It's a known fact. Nutrient density greatly reduces as a vegetable is picked, transported across country, processed in a plant, etc. There is nothing better than locally picked vegetables. Thank you. I landed in Ohio accidentally. I worked for Abigail and Les Wexner from New Albany. The Wexners own the Limited. Abigail Wexner is a health nut, a very fine lady, supports the community. The Wexners just launched White Barn. The whole farm is an organic farm now. What they built over there is amazing. The organic vegetables are going, not only feeding the house. As a chef, I ran the Albany Country Club. They own Winding Hollow. They took it back from Tartt Management Company. I revamped that, opened that up. I converted New Albany Country Club into farm to table, local ingredients. And as a chef, I also went over to the estate and gave their 2 chefs off on their days off. The Wexners own various entities, as you know, plus their yacht, Limitless, which is docked in Capri. Mrs. Wexner wants the vegetables picked 2 to 3 hours prior to dinner. And that is all against the nutrient density. Let's talk more about conventional growth hormones, steroids. Big problem. Big problem. Cattle right now, coming into the chutes, they can't even walk. Growth hormones became very popular in our beef industry in 2008, and they wanted something to offset their feed. I am pro grass-fed, by the way. I'm talking conventional grain. Traditional cow goes into a feedlot at about 20 to 22 months, depending on the breed. 4 weeks, they'll finish it out, lean it out, and send it off to harvest. And I probably have a room full of vegetarians here, so this is probably not the right topic. Pharmaceutical companies that do work for agriculture develop feed supplements, and they've been used hence to today. And what a feed supplement will do is it'll put 50 pounds on a cow in 4 weeks, which is basically unheard of. Something is not right. Today, the cows can't even walk, some of them when they're going in, so we have to get away from that. Let's talk a little bit about antibiotics. I'm fine with antibiotics as long as an animal is culled from its herd, given a shot of TS200 or a shot of terramycin, whatever it would be, and then put back in after it completed its cycle. What I'm not happy with is when antibiotics are used as a preventative basis in factory hog farms where there is 1,000 hogs in a room that's 400 to 500 feet long that never see fresh air. That's what I am an opponent of. What that does is it breaks down their immune system and makes them susceptible to disease. Now, the recent pet virus in the pork industry, we have seen the highest pork prices in the history of this country, and that was $1.33 in July. Traditionally, pork has always been 60, 65 cents. When I'm talking per pound live weight, that's standing up. I believe the pet virus was developed from that. Lack of an immune system to actually fight the disease off. So I don't believe in antibiotics as well. I am actually developing a Berkshire line right now. I own Oliver Farms, and I'm in partner with Deer Valley, very prominent farmer from Perry County named Thad Cooper Ryder, who's a third generation farmer. And Thad and his son Dylan, we're developing an all-natural, non-GMO Berkshire pork product. And we are going to do value-added. As a master chef, I am also a master charcutier. Charcutier is the role in processing of meats, cured bacon, sausages, salasons, which are dry cured over maturation, pepperonis and salasons, nitrate-free cures. It's another area that we are venturing into. We need a healthier food system. The alternative food market, we do have challenges, and our challenges are trying to compete with the conventional food system. Right now, I look at the vegetarian segment of our market, which is about 20% organic market. Veganism is growing. I do work for a company called Eco Cuisine out of Boulder, Colorado. I've been doing work for them, consulting work for the past 15 years, and also the ANF, which is the American Natural Foods Foundation. And I want to compliment Barbara on such a wonderful meal tonight. The new term is flexitarian. We need to be flexitarians to continue to move on and have a sustainable environment and sustainable tomorrow. Livestock, 1 cow, 1 pig produces a large amount of methane gas, does a lot of damage to our water system, etc. We're not telling all the meat people to stop eating meat, but let's eat meat once or twice in a period of 10 days. And let's concentrate on a plant-based diet. It's a lot cleaner for our environment, and it's a lot healthier for us. So that is the term that you're going to see a lot in the future, is flexitarian. As far as the local food system, CFIs, CSAs is the future. Community gardening, that is what we have to do. There is going to be serious food shortages. If you look at the World Hunger Organization and look at the statistics of the population, which is exponentially increasing, we're going to see them and feel them hard in 2020. In 2050, it's going to be a catastrophe. Now, granted, I won't have to worry about that, but I am worried about it because I'm worried for my children and for my children's children. So we have to develop a sustainable system. We got to find a balance. We got to get our corporate agricultural systems, farming, more clean. Clean, conventional, chemical-free is something that you're going to hear and see a lot of nowadays. A lot of the farmers in Perry County and a lot of the farmers in the state of Ohio are starting to hedge their operations. Would I just like a perfect stock portfolio? A farmer would have to be nuts. A conventional farmer that's farming 2,000 acres, 1,000 acres, to say next year we're switching over and we're going organic. Number one, they couldn't do it. The USDA has a transitional program, which 28 of my 70 acres is currently in. You follow the guidelines and plant the crops in certain sequence over 3 years, then you can qualify for organic. The sequence of the crops you plant will take the pesticides and the unnatural, I'm not going to use the word nutrients, organisms out of the soil. A lot of farms are doing that. A lot of farmers are going after the USDA program and putting high tunnels up. High tunnels extends the growing season. You can add 2 to 3 months on the front end and the back end. These are the things that we have to do as community members and as citizens of this country to contribute to a better tomorrow. One last comment I just want to share with you. I did taste the Pickaway County, and as a speaker, I do some speaking, and you can always feel just by the looks that you're getting from folks if you're going the right direction or the wrong direction. Pickaway County, I was approached by Mike Estad, who is an extension agent for Ohio State University, for Hocking to come and cater their event. Pickaway County is row cropper country, and that is all corn, soybean, etc. And I went to the Radcliffe farm, And Mr. Radcliffe is also the sheriff of Pickaway. He farms about 4,000 acres. Gorgeous barn. I designed a beautiful menu, all items that were donated. Unfortunately, I was using commodity pork because most of the farmers in Pickaway grow commodity pork. It's not an organic or local culture in Pickaway. There are various farms that donated heirlooms, organic berries, etc. Put this beautiful menu together. So Mike asked me to speak to the crowd after the invocation. I had just done OFA's fundraiser at Val Jorgensen's farm in Westerville, which is a wonderful, wonderful organic farm. If you've never been to Val Jorgensen's farm, please make a plan to visit. So I was still on this Go Organic gig. So I started talking to this 225 row cropping families. And I went off on agricultural runoff, what that's doing to our water system. And I turned to my left and I saw Mike looking down, going like this, because I felt that I just felt so much tension coming from this crowd. So I said, Mike, am I going the wrong direction with this? Well, the whole room lost it. So I said, I might as well have fun with this. So I said, all right, with a show of hands, how many organic farmers do we have out there? And you would have thought, I mean, it's just unbelievable. I said, all right, well, how about non-GMO? So anyway, I was going the wrong direction with it, but I still got my message across. And that was very, very important. Very, very important. I'm president of Perry County Farmers Market Cooperative. I run the Perry County, the Somerset Farmers Market. Launched a line of all-natural sauces, working on all-natural pork line, non-GMO. Sold a lot of vegetables, farmed 9 acres of chemical-free vegetables, 3 high tunnels this year. Today was the first day I had off in about 6.5 months. I did take one final sweep on Deer Valley and picked a couple 100 pounds of jalapeno peppers. I did a sweep on my tomatoes 2 weeks ago, picked some final pumpkins, got 100 or so pounds of cherry peppers. Go on my Facebook page, I have a picture of all these jalapeno peppers and cherry peppers. And I put a posting on Facebook. If anybody would like some peppers, please let me know. So I said, and then I listed, well, you would think that one of the regional managers from Chipotle would see this and contact me. And then I put, where is Willie Nelson when you really need him? And then my next comment was, deception. Deception in our food industry. Deception in our commercial market. Chipotle may buy 2% local products, but the public thinks that everything that's coming in their back door is local. We are in a society of deception, and we have to bring the attention to the American public. We have to let people know what they're eating. One thing I do want to say, everything is great at Hocking College. We are one Hocking. And we are in a transitional period. We have a budget deficit. Our number one priority is the students. They are the 3,500 current students in that institution are our number one concern. We are going to balance our budget. We are going to continue to grow our programs. And we are going to have the least amount of negative impact on the educational outcomes for those students. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Have a good night.
So how was dessert? Wonderful. Thank you again so much for coming.
It's greenhouse with that sold.
That's all. Yeah, we'll see you next year.